Hi, this is my interview with Mr. Craig Jackson by Latoya Stackhouse Marshall. We will first begin with an introduction. Who is Craig Jackson? Craig Jackson is the current Vice President for Student Affairs at Central Georgia Technical College in Macon, Georgia. I conducted this interview via telephone and both email as a follow-up. The date of this interview was April 3rd, 2015. We will begin with some basic information and background on Mr. Jackson. Mr. Craig Jackson attended both Valdosta State and Albany State Universities. He received a Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology from Albany State University, a Master's of Business Administration from Wesleyan College, and he is currently working on his doctoral degree in business at Liberty University. After obtaining his Bachelor's of Arts in Psychology, Mr. Jackson started his career as a substance abuse counselor where he served for 10 years. After that time, he decided to move into higher education as an admissions recruiter. He later worked his way up to become senior recruiter and then director of admissions. He was named vice president for student affairs in 2012. I asked Mr. Jackson about the best and worst parts of his current position. He said that the best part is being able to mentor students and staff, and the worst part is dealing with the lack of funding that keeps him from expanding programs and activities. Then I asked whether or not he was satisfied with higher education and student affairs as a career choice. He said he was satisfied because it gives him the opportunity to hopefully impact someone else's life. His future aspirations is to one day become college president. And when I asked him if he had any advice for me as I further my education and as I also pursue other careers in higher ed, he said that I need to remember to stay focused on helping students and others to achieve their goals, and in doing so, I will continue to be successful and always be willing to learn as much as I can from different areas. We went on into the conversation started to talk about his department, Student Affairs. The mission of Central Georgia Tech's Student Affairs Office is to support the mission of the college by providing support and services to students learning with the following services: admissions, the registrar's office, recruitment, career services, athletics, student activities, disability and special population services, high school initiatives, student support services, and testing service. He also let me know there were about 85 staff members under the Student Affairs umbrella. Now, in looking at the mission, I did have a bit of a concern because the mission didn't fully talk about what the mission of the college was. So in looking back on that question, I did have that one reaction to that particular answer, that the mission wasn't really a full mission. It just basically lists all of the different services that it provides, but it doesn't say necessarily how it will help to meet the goal and objectives of the college. So I went on to ask Mr. Jackson, actually, how has his department grown and evolved over the past few years? And he said that with the merger of the two colleges, and he was talking about Middle Georgia Technical College and Central Georgia Tech both merging, that it created a natural growth. And along with that growth came the addition of the athletic teams. And as of right now, Central Georgia Tech has a men and women basketball team, cross-country team, as well as an athletic director. When asked about some of the current issues and concerns affecting his department, Mr. Jackson let me know that there was a decrease in enrollment, which affected the entire college. And some of the budgetary concerns and the status of his budgetary program now is that with the decrease in enrollment, the college has received less funding, but is still required to produce the same quality services and even more. Um, the most apparent need for the department is equipment that is current and efficient to perform day to day tasks. Just looking at the overall status, and especially with the decrease in enrollment, um, he also noted that they use a lot of students at the college instead of hiring full time staff to cover certain jobs. And that really helps with them having to deal with the budget cuts. As we went on into the conversation, we started to talk about some of the brighter spots that have happened in his student affairs department. And he said that some of the biggest accomplishments during the past 5 years is that Central Georgia Tech was the first college in the system to graduate more than 3,000 students in one fiscal year, and that the graduation and retention rates are 61.5% and 61.3% respectively. And these numbers exceed the national averages for 2 year colleges. He also went on to add that their job placement rate is 97.5, which is extremely high for any college being in this type of economy. Mr. Jackson felt that the biggest difficulty the department has experienced over the past 5 years went back to the budget cuts and decrease in the student financial support. He also felt that with these cuts, he would be able to totally be successful in his position. But he does have a plan in order to try to increase enrollment and also increase the international student population of CGTC. When asked about the major issues facing higher education today, Mr. Jackson stated that it was retention, that it's easier to get students in school, but having them finish is the challenge. Online classes, although convenient, are very challenging for non-traditional students or those who have difficulty learning via the web. Funding is always a concern. So this is a summary of my reactions to the interview. I've known Mr. Jackson since 2006. I worked for him at Middle Georgia State College when I was an admissions recruiter. At that time, he was the director of admissions. Um, he is a person that I feel like I could work for once again. He has a very laid-back demeanor, but he expects a lot of the people who report to him. I did learn that we did have similar paths where we were admissions recruiters and started to advance in higher education. While he has aspirations of becoming a president, I do not. But I do want to one day become athletic director of a Division II program. The changes since the merger has been tremendous for him, being that he was once located in Warner Robins at the Middle Georgia College campus, and now he's in Macon at Central Georgia Tech. Very disappointed regarding the financial issues. While I understand that athletics can be a bright spark for a program or even an institution, it could also help them with their financial situation if they were to eliminate the athletic department, being that it's not as expansive as of yet, and maybe think about bringing it back at a later time once enrollment increases and funding is up for the college as a whole. I did think that this was an enlightening interview that highlighted the challenges of student affairs, especially on the technical level. He was very easy to interview, willing to help, and was very good with following up on any questions that I had. This brings me to the end of my presentation and the end of my interview. Hope you enjoyed.